This week we ended our lesson on Yom Kamishi talking about some very disturbing things that we found in the book of Hebrews, which they call that the New Testament, which is a book that is written by anonymous authors. A lot of those books over there, they don't even know who the author is. They might attribute let me see. So, there's a lot of things that may be attributed to, that book that we don't even know, right? So a lot of people are basing their life on these decisions that other people have made in books that other people have written, which they have an agenda, okay? There's a personal agenda. I have so much information today that I'll be honest with you, I couldn't even do a presentation. I couldn't because there's just too much to go. There's too much to see. So let me give you an idea. We have a lot of information, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay. I don't want to overwhelm you. What I want you to see though is can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So up above here, usually we do about 50 or 60 different slides, but up here you can see my toolbar that I got it's a bunch of stuff. Okay. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we have to cover, but I don't want to overwhelm anybody. All right. Because when I want to read it, I want us to get an understanding. All right. And I want to talk more about those lies that we learned about on Yom Kamishi. But first things first, let's discuss what, the culmination of what emor means. And so the Hebrew word, of course, is called emor, and emor means to speak, okay, or to say. And it's an aleph, it's a mem, and it's a resh. Okay. It means to speak or to say, right? When we're talking about this, and it's called omer, okay, so there's an O right here. So what it is saying, okay, meaning it's a continuation. In a Torah portion this week, there is a idea of Yah continuing the conversation that he was having last week about being Kodashim, and what that meant for the people. And what he expected from them is through their behaviors, their sexual conduct, all sorts of things. And then he begins to tell us, continue to speak to Moshe to tell the children of Israel and Aharon and his sons about what their responsibilities are going to be moving forward as set apart individuals outside of the tribes that have been called to another level, okay, another complete level of holiness, another kodoshim to be set apart. And there we find out that they can't marry certain people. And there we find out that they can't have anything wrong with their bodies, right? They have to literally be without blemish. They have to be perfect. And so this idea of perfection is found in that Torah portion, okay? Meaning that the perfection that has been prescribed by man is saying that you and I will be completely sinless. That you and I will be, the only way that you and I can ever hit perfection is to be sinless, okay? And that's not the case. That is not the case at all right? So let's just go ahead and kind of do a quick review over what we've learned this week, okay? So here it is, chapter number 21, Leviticus. I know you can see my screen. It begins to talk about the one in verse number 10, who is the highest rank. I'm going to just do an overview, okay? What we find here is that he can't approach anybody that's dead, his mother, his father. Verse number 13, he's to marry a virgin, right? So there has to be this virgin, right, that he marries. He can't marry a person who's widowed, divorced, profaned, or prostitute, because all of these in particular people have been defiled in some type of way. They've had extra seed from another man put inside of them, some of them more than others, okay? But the point is that what we understand is the contamination of a person. And it's not just a contamination. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because I don't want this to appear to be something profane. I don't want to make you think it's nasty or nothing like that. And not to even put a woman in this type of position and say that if you're a divorced woman, you're a profane woman, okay? That's not the case. Or if you're a widow, you're profaned. That's not the case. Okay. Prostitution, you for sure are. We talked about that earlier this week. For those of you who weren't on study, a prostitute is somebody who cuts off the seed. That's what she does. The stalk, she makes sure that nothing continues because seed is being wasted inside of her. Okay. But he talks about marrying this virgin woman from among his own people. What's making them profaned, everyone, is not just because they're a woman or some other man has been with them. It's been the fact that they are not kadosh. They're not from this in particular family. He said that they have to marry a virgin from among his own people, from their own tribe. See, so there's a group of people, okay, inside of the family of Israel that has a higher level and a higher calling on their lives. So they can't mix with stuff. They can't, eat. They don't, like I said, they don't eat the same food that other ordinary people. They don't eat the same meat. Everything that they've had has had a touch by the Most High on it, right? And so what he's saying is, and I just want to be clear, what he's saying is that if you deal with somebody who's not of your family, who's not been consecrated, somebody who's not kadosh, right? You're going to disqualify your descendant. That means you're going to disqualify your seed, okay? Your continuation of your sons, okay? And your daughters, because you're going to mess around, you're going to mix with something. So in the book of Ezra and the book of Nehemiah, they talk about men should not marry these other women of these other places. And he said, what you've done is assimilated the holy seed. There's a seed, okay, that's been assimilated into the nations. And the biggest offenders of this was the tribe of Levi. They were the ones who were doing these things, okay? So what they were doing was they were disqualifying descendants from being able to be in the service. And that's why he says, I am Yahweh who makes him kadosh. That's the reason why. Okay. I don't want your sons to be disqualified from serving me, and I want your daughters to be disqualified. Because if you marry someone that's not supposed to be married to, you're going to disqualify them as a priest. And therefore, legally, they're not entitled to anything that I give them, which I want to give to them. So I didn't give you guys any land, talking about the descendants of Levi. I've given your inheritance is me. So if you're getting disqualified, you're getting cut off from me. That's what's happening. And so Elohim said to Moshe, tell Aharon, none of your descendants, none of them who has a defect may approach and offer bread of his Elohim. So it tells us that there are going to be some people that have these defects in their bodies, okay? The defect is you might not want to be one of your mind, right? In that sense, but he's telling us that no one who's blind, lame, or is mutilated, or has a limb too long, or has a broken foot, or a broken arm, or a hunchback, a stunted growth, cataract in eye, festering running sores, damaged testicles, all the things that he's described about even the animals that he says that they can't have any part, they don't offer to me. So what we find is the Most High is letting us know that he's not discriminating between humans and animals. I'm not. Because if you have any of these things like an animal that we find in the book of Malachi, that's disqualified. Okay, so if you feel like you can offer me something that's broken, and you feel like you can offer me something that's damaged, or you think you can offer me something that's mutilated, then that tells me that's your mindset. What you want me to do is accept things that are broken and not whole. And I'm telling you that I am the living Elohim, and that everything and everyone, in whatever it may be, has to come whole. It has to be perfect. It has to be tamim. And tamim means to come to a maturity and be in the right way. So when he says these things, I think about my life, everyone. And I say, okay, well, I had a cornea transplant. I'm automatically discontinued. I can't even serve in the Most High. I got a sore or a bruise on me that would disqualify me. One of my toes is longer than my big toe. I mean, you could be anything. You see, so why is the Most High sharing this? He's letting us know, like, I'm not who you think I am. I'm not human, and I'm not going to accept just anything or anyone. And you can't force that on me. See, so in the book of Hebrews, what the Christians are talking about is where they're saying that the creator of the heavens and the earth is now open to accepting everybody in anything. Everything goes. You could be a transvestite, you could be a homosexual, you could be a gay, you could be a lesbian, you could be an adulterer, you could be a murderer, you could be a thief, you could be all those things. And it's saying that he's going to accept you. So they don't want this Elohim. This is the reason why they wanted to get rid of the priesthood. Excuse me. And we have to understand why they want to get rid of the priesthood. The priesthood is essential for us because, again, the study this week was the Kohen is the foundation of the community. He's the one who's firm. He's the one of the foundation of the community. He's the firmness of the community. And it's this family that Yah is going to use in order to teach everybody else what they need to learn about Yah. Not everybody can approach Yah. So what we need to do, Christians say, we'll get rid of Aaron and his sons and everyone, number one, because they die. Let's use that as an excuse. So since they die, we can get rid of them, and let's get somebody in office that we'll say that it never die, and it'll be a new covenant. Okay. And then we'll all be able to approach God now. There is no barriers between us and God. So now we don't need him. Okay. And then, of course, the Most High tells us that nobody, who is not right, they can't come towards me. They can't be part of my sanctuary. You can't. Okay. In our Torah portion, also too, we find in chapter number 22, that was 21. It talks about, everyone who can eat, so the food, everything that was holy. If you read your Torah portion, this is all going to make sense for you. Okay. If you don't read your Torah portion, I want to let you know something. You are not listening to Yahweh's voice. You're not going to hear from Yah. Things in your life are going to continue as status quo and nothing's going to change. You're not going to develop into the person that the Most High wants you to develop into. Okay. The Torah is like rain that's falling on grass. Okay. Or falling so the ground so it can receive the nutrients, because the word Torah comes from the root rain. And so when you read in the Torah, it's like giving water to the earth. Okay. And then the earth sucks it up, and then it utilizes that water. And then the things that come out of the ground, those are the fruits and the vegetables and the things that bring life to us, and we can get our sustenance from it. And then also too, we can start seeing the development in our lives. But if you're not reading the Torah, you're doing yourself a great disservice. Okay. So he also warns the priests. He gives a warning in this chapter, and he's telling them, like, don't profane anything that the house of Israel brings to me. Because if you do anything and you mess up and you kind of like go sideways and they set something apart for me, and you don't put it the way it's supposed to be, then you're going to bear the guilt of that. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off from me. Okay. So this Kodashim thing is really, really big. And then he goes on, of course, in verse number 23, he says, a bull, a lamb that has a limb that's too short, you may offer it as a voluntary, but as a vow, it won't be accepted. Any animal, or an animal with a bruise, crushed, torn, cut, genitals, just like a human being, you're not to offer to Yahweh. You're not to do these things. Okay. You're not to even receive any of these from a foreigner. For you will offer the bread of your Elohim, because your deformity is a defect in them, meaning that, and they will not be accepted. Meaning, like, he's telling them, I don't even want you to go get a bull, a goat, a lamb, or anything from anybody. They have to come from you. Everything has to start with you, and everything is going to end with you. I'm not letting anybody in. Okay. Nobody's coming in. Right. So this is very exclusive. It's very set apart. And so he's saying, listen, don't do that. Verse number, one thing I wanted to bring out about here is verse number 29 says, when you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to Yahweh, you must do it in a way such that you will be accepted. Okay. And then it says, it must be eaten on the same day, and it is offered. Leave none of it till the morning. I'm Yahweh. See, there's certain offerings that you can offer the Most High, and he says you got to eat it in the first and the second day. But here he says it can only be eaten on that same day, Thanksgiving. When I read this, everyone, I thought to myself, why? Why are you saying, because the Shalomim offering, the peace offering said you got 2 days. But you just said that this Thanksgiving offering, you must eat it in the same day. It's not good for a second day. And has to do with Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving in Hebrew is called Todah. Okay. And Todah is talking about praise. Okay. And praise has to do with the hands. Okay. And the hands is what they call a yod. Okay. Forgive this writing for this pen. It's called a yod. Okay. And this is what it looks like, a yod. You know what a yod looks like. Okay. So if he's saying that when you give this to me, these has to do with your hands. I said, yeah, well, why? Why 1 day? Because the day that you have is the day that you're supposed to praise me. That's the day that you're supposed to praise me. That's why that offering is not good for the day after or the second day or the third day. We can't praise Yah for a day that has never existed. You can't praise him for something that hasn't existed. You have to praise him on the day that you give him praise. And when I was studying this, I had a whole bunch of work to do. I'm sharing a lot of intimate details about my life. So, because Yah uses my life to teach me so I can teach others. What we like to do is everyone has a lot of things going on in their lives, right? So we're always trying to figure out what we got to do and how we can put, how we can fit the Torah in. Because that was my thing. Like, okay, well, how can I fit Yah in? If praise is required for that 1 day, praise is only good for 1 day. Only that day, right? Because remember, it told us that you can't praise Yah when you're in the grave. There's no praise. Okay. Yesterday is gone. You can't pray. You got to praise him for that which exists today. So when we try to figure out how to put the Torah in our lives, because that's been the biggest issue for all of us. And that's because we deal with so many different things. And what I mean by that, everyone, is that, even a person who's disabled like myself, I'm still trying to do stuff and I still have stuff that I got to do. But what we do is we got a lot of work that we have to do. Okay. Some of you are CEOs of big companies, and, you guys got a lot. You guys are in charge of hundreds of people. Some of us are in charge of a few people. Some are just in charge of ourselves, but we have stuff that we got to do. It doesn't matter how many or what we do. It is, just part of our lives. So work is what we do with our hands. Okay. So the Most High brought this out to me and said, okay, I said, yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do. I want to give you your praise and I want to do your Torah, right? So I want this to be in because I want to make this part of my life. Something came to me and told me like, okay, well, all right. So when should you praise me? Should you praise me after you do all of your work? Or should you praise me before you do all of your work? Which one comes first? And I thought, and then it came on me and said, okay, what work would you and I have if it wasn't for Yah? Who should be the priority? Should the job be the priority? Should the work, should the cutting the yard be the priority? Should go getting the oil changed in the car be the priority? What if it wasn't for Yah, your hands would not be able to do nothing. We're in such a rush to do other stuff that we forget that the only thing that matters is praising Yah for the ability to do the things that we can do, or that we're going to do, or that we should do, or that we have to do. It's because Yah has blessed our hands. We're supposed to praise Yah for that which he makes available for us to do. Let's not make Yah an afterthought. Let's not try to squeeze him into our daily routine. Yah is not interested in that. He's not just another a check off listed thing to do. He's not just some other task that we have to scratch off of our list that I did today. See, so the hands that he's talking about praise him, he's saying it, and guess what it is? Our Torah portion was talking about the words that continue, right? So there's other words that in Hebrew, I didn't have time to put them together, but they talk about a continuance or a spreading out. Okay. Oh, forgive me. Spreading out like a carpet, rolling something out, continuing something. So this whole Torah portion is about continuation. That's what it is. So it's about continuation. It's about continuity. Okay. It's about things continuing on. It's about things that are being arranged. Because remember, he talked about, did you guys should arrange the menorah? Aaron has to do this, and it's a continual. Okay. So the word for continue is called tamim. That is so ugly. The word for continuation is called tamim. Tamim. That's when he's saying you guys have to light that, can make sure that light don't go out. It has to continue. The words that Yah's talking about is the words of continuation, arrangement. When they're supposed to take the bread and put it on the table every Shabbat and arrange it, is to be done continually. So the theme here is to continue, right? You can't marry a prostitute or a widow or divorcee because it would disqualify your descendants from what? From continuing. So our Torah portion is about continuance. That's what this whole Torah portion is about. If you and I intend on continuing to have work on our hands, we should give Yah praise. The more that we fall in line with the gratitude and alignment and getting on the right frequency of the Most High, you and I will be able to continue and prosper. Israel has not been able to continue and prosper because when they had such an abundance of all things, they didn't thank him. They weren't happy. They didn't say, let me show it to you. They didn't say thank you. They weren't happy about what they were, just going in their mundane day-to-day stuff. And that's the reason why they lost. That's why they lost that position, because the Most High is concerned. He's literally concerned with, okay, so what are you guys going to do? Let me see. Where did I put it? You see all these different places? Let me see. Where is it at? 44, 52, 81, 66, 29. No, is it 28? 28. It got to be, it's 26, 31, Hebrew 8, 25, 33, 16, 14, 28. Here you go. It's on this one. Oh, no, it's not that one. That was the 28 of that one. 28. Let's see this one. Yeah, here it is. This is found in Deuteronomy chapter number 28, verse number 46. Write it down. Yah says that these curses will be on you and your descendants as a sign, which is an oath, and a wonder forever, to an undisclosed set of time, okay? Because you didn't serve Yahweh with joy and gladness in your heart when you had such an abundance of everything. He doesn't stop there. Then he talks about sending your enemy against you, and you will serve him when you're hungry and you're thirsty and you're poorly clothed and lacking everything, and he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until he destroys you. Okay? Why? Because they didn't celebrate Yah. They didn't give Yah any thanks. And that's what the Most High is telling us. You see? So when we have the opportunity, everyone, to give Yah thanks, we should. Okay, I wanted to bring that out. Chapter number 23. In chapter number 23, this is a hot potato. Okay, it's called the Moedim of the Most High. All right, these are what they call the designated times. The designated times are for those who are going to be a witness. Okay, because in the word moed, come on, you pen, you're making me mad. You're embarrassing me. You're a witness. In this word called designated times is your word called moed, M-O-E-D, okay? And moed means appointment. Okay, that's all it means. It's an appointment. Okay, and I put an eem on the end. That means multiple appointments. Okay, the word itself has this word aid in it, which is an ayin and a dalet. The ayin represents the eye, and this is the eye, and the dalet is the what? Somebody tell me, what's the dalet?
Door.
That's the door. So the door of the eye. The door of the eye is a person who is a witness who repeatedly goes back to the same place every single time, and they give testimony to the fact that this is what it is. So when Most High is calling you and I to his moedim, his set apart times, which they call his festivals, they're called appointments. Okay. Within those appointments are found a designation of festivals. Not every one of these is a festival. Some are festivals and some are not. Okay. So these are designated times. The Shabbat is part of this. Okay. Rosh Chodesh is going to be part of this, right? But he talks more specifically about these seven. And these are the seven that you and I have gone over before. Okay. The seven are seven meaning oath, meaning number. And he says on these in particular times that you and I are to meet with him. There's 3 times a year that you and I are supposed to meet with him. Okay. And he says these are times where you as a people, okay, a people that is set apart, you are a witness to something. Okay. You're testifying as a witness. So that's where you get your word testimony. We're going to chop this down today. Okay. So my goal, I'll have to speed it up. We're witnesses, and therefore the actions that you and I do, because you have to, okay, you got to do this, but also too, you and I have to say it, which is your Hebrew word for our Torah portion called Amar. You have to say it. When you guys are preparing during the year, you go, okay, guess what? Pesach is coming. What did you just do? I just gave what they call a testimony to it. And in our Torah portion is a Hebrew word that's called mikra, M-I-Q-R-A. Okay. The mir right here means who, and the kara right here means call. Wrong color, Dawid. Call. So a mikra, he says these gatherings or these appointments are times where you would gather together as a congregation. When we gather together as a congregation, we are the ones who are calling out what these times are. By the sheer fact that you and I are celebrating and proclaiming, because that's what calling out is, it's not only call, but it's to proclaim. We're saying that Yah exists. We're his witnesses. We're saying that he exists. What are you saying? Someone tell me, what are we saying when we keep the Passover? What are we saying about Yah?
We're remembering him, and he got us out of Egypt.
Thank you. So, and we know that he's the only one that delivered us. So we're making a proclamation that Yah is a savior. And he's a deliverer. That's what you're doing right here. Okay. When we go for the Feast of Matzah for how many days?
7.
There's 7 days. Why 7?
Oath.
It's an oath. That means there's an agreement. That means that it's perfect. Okay. And so we do the unleavened bread. We had Feast of Matzah this year and last year and the year before, and unleavened bread. What's the unleavened bread represent?
The time that we didn't have for the bread to rise.
We didn't have the time for the bread to rise, but it has to do with our character. It has to do with sincerity. Okay. It means that, you know what? The Most High brought us out and we didn't have time. Thank you. Okay. I brought in another aspect. Thank you, Azania. So there's a time element that Yah brought you out on this day. And when he brought you out so fast that you had no time to let your bread rise, and you didn't have time to prepare anything. So you had to eat unleavened bread, okay? Which talks about sincerity, and there's no puffiness, there's no pride. It's 100% authentic, okay? Feast of First Fruits. We haven't had an opportunity to celebrate this in a sense because we're not in our land. But this has to do with Yah giving them the fruits of the land, which is I'm fulfilling the promise that I made to your fathers. Okay. What is the feast? The next one is called the Feast of Sukkot. I mean, the Feast of Shavuot. What does Shavuot mean? If you can remember. And listen, don't feel bad if you don't know.
We
You know
lived,
why? Go ahead.
we lived in the wilderness in tents.
Well, Shavuot is different from Sukkot. So Shavuot has to do with 7 sevens. Okay. So this is a time factor. Okay. And it has to do with the Omer. Okay. Omer, Omer. Okay. And it has to do with a harvest. Right. So this word Omer here is spelled ayin, a mem, and a resh. Our Torah portion is an aleph, a mem, and a resh. So the Most High is letting us know about this in particular festival because in his own way, the Most High is communicating to us through a harvest. Okay, he's letting us know, like, I'm the one who brought you to your land, and there's a certain period of time where I'm going to be looking for you to do a harvest in the summer. It's going to be a reminder again about what I made a promise to your fathers. That's what I promised them. I promised them land. I promised them descendants. I promised I will be their Elohim. Me being your Elohim doesn't mean that I'm just hands off. It means that I'm going to take care of you. That's what it means. Then we have Yom Teruah. It's the blowing of the shofar. What month? It's in your Torah portion. Take a guess.
7th.
There it is. It's in the 7th month, on the first day of the month. What month is Yom Kippur in?
7th month.
7th
Mhm.
month. Okay, on from the 9th day until the 10th day. Somebody tell me, what does it tell you to do on that day?
Deny yourself.
Deny yourself and afflict your soul. Not just your flesh, your soul has to be afflicted. Okay. Feast of Sukkot. What month?
The 7th.
7th.
7th month, on the 15th day. How many days are you supposed to celebrate it?
7.
7 days. Tell me why 7 days.
The oath.
It's an oath. Praise Yah. It's something that Yah has sworn. So the festivals, listen, the two main big that the Most High wants us to really remember and to do a super duper cog on are the ones that we spend time with him on, which are these two right here. This is for 7 days, and this one right here is for 7 days. Okay. This is in the 1st month, and this is in the 7th month. Any additional 8th month, 9th month, 10th month, 11th month, 12th month, there are no festivals. That anything after the 7th month is something somebody else made up. And you could go look at in the scriptures and find out how the Most High feels about somebody who did the Feast of Sukkot on the 8th month. He cursed that person, which was the king of Israel, who was upset with people going to Jerusalem on Feast of Sukkot. You live in tents for 7 days. You get an opportunity to spend time with Yah. Okay. I want to share that with you. So as you can see, these are us being witnesses, and these are what are being proclaimed during the seasons. And everything that we're talking about has to do with food. Yom Kippur, no food. Harvest, first fruits, unleavened bread, lamb, goat, in gathering. Feast of Sukkot, food. Yes, Claudia, I see you, Akoti. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I noticed that you you put the number 7 with the word oath, and I would like further explanation on that. I find it very interesting.
Yes.
Or is oath, does it mean 7 or 7 means oath?
Yeah. So
That's my question.
yeah, here it is. Great question. Okay. So the idea is this: when the Most High, what he did is he created the earth in 6 days. Okay. And in the 7th day, this is the day that everything he rested. Okay. When the Most High gives an oath, which is called this right here in Hebrew, spelled O-A-T-H, it means that someone is going to seven themselves. And the example that we have is that Abraham went to that well called Beer Sheva or Sheva. Okay. In this word Beer Sheva, what we have is the word Beer and then Sheva. Okay. Beer is the well and Sheva is the number 7. When Abraham made an oath with that king Avimelech, he brought out 7 lambs. Sorry that the writing didn't work out on that one. He brought out 7 lambs. The king of Avimelech asked him, what do these 7 lambs mean? He said, they mean an oath. Therefore, when they made that oath and swore that oath, it's called Beersheba because of the 7 lambs that was given. When a person makes that oath, they're saying, I'm going to do something 7 times over. Okay. So when the Most High says, I'm going to discipline you, I'm making an oath. Okay. When I say that, once a week, or excuse me, every 7 days, that's like an oath. It's done. It's a swearing. So when the Most High had that end on that 7th day, it's like, okay, now look at everything I've done. I just sealed the oath that I made every day. I've just sealed it right here. This is the sealing time. This is where the oath is. This is the reason why he gave the Sabbath day, is because the Sabbath day seals that oath. He did it 7. He tells us here that these are the 7 sevens. I want you to, count out 7 weeks of 7. We also understand that there's 7 years times 7 years. These are 7 months times 7 months. Okay. And then he gives us 7 days. Okay. Times 7 days. You see this all through scripture. So oath is the 7 is an actual time of an oath, like Yah is swearing. Okay. Someone else had a question?
Wanted to say, is that had to do with Yaakov serving Laban like 7 years and 7 years?
There you go. He made it. Remember, that's part of the custom. But what we understand, all the examples that we have, is that 7 seals the oath. Yah uses 7s all the time. And it's just saying it's an oath. This is something I'm swearing, because the number 7 is called Sheva right here. They call it Shavua. That oath right there means plural. Okay. This Shava right here is 7. So that's why he says, this is my oath. I'm making an oath to you. So the Feast of Harvest that was the oath that I swore to your father. I swore to your fathers I would take care of you. And so I'm proving to you that I'm keeping my oath. I'm keeping what I said. Okay. So that's the reason why. And so if you look at these appointments, there's 7 of them, which is a completion of the oath. All of them have to do with food. Every last one of them. Okay. Yes.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
It's interesting that you said Yah's feast days have to do with food. And I thought about that. The worldly holidays all have to do with money.
Yes, it does have, and they profane you with their food. So Yah uses food, everyone, to communicate. Listen, I know that it sounds different, but it's the truth. That's how the Most High talks to us. The nutrition that you and I have is sending messages to us. There's a reason why he's telling us not to eat certain things. There's a reason why he's telling us to feast. It's not because I just want you to have a party and drink a whole bunch of wine. It represents something. Everything the Most High says has to do with his covenant. Everything has to do with his covenant. Okay. This is 29. What do I do? Why I got 20? Oh, I want to briefly show you that, okay, we're in a very serious situation. Okay. So there's been a lot of question like, well, should we keep the festivals? You know, because we can't proclaim them because there's so much that needs to be done. Okay. So in chapter number 28 and 29 of the book of Numbers, write this down so you can review it. It talks about all of the festivals. Yah doesn't give us these details in chapter number 23 of Leviticus, our Torah portion. He gives it in chapter number 28. He explains what the 10th day is and what is you supposed to do, okay? And then he talks about the offerings that have to be offered. So here it is. Let's just start with the Sukkot one, which is a big one. He said, on the 15th day of the 7th month, you are to have a holy convocation. That is called a mikra. That is called a set-apart mikra. Set apart is, you're set apart, so guess what? This gathering is set apart. You're not to do any kind of work, ordinary work. You are to observe a feast to Yahweh for 7 days. That's your oath. That's your 7 days complete. Okay. You are to present a burnt offering. Now, I wanted to share these offerings with you because there's over 99 of them. Okay. And here it is. He says, I'll just start with day number 1. Okay. You are to present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, bringing a fragrant aroma to Yahweh. It is to consist of 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in the first year, and they are to be without defect. This does not include the daily offerings that they're supposed to make. This is just for this in particular festival. With their grain offerings, fine flour mixed with olive oil, 6 quarts on each 13 bulls, 4 quarts for each of the 2 rams, and 2 quarts on each of the 14 lambs. Also, 1 male as goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with his grain and drink offerings. That's on day number 1. Day number 2, you got 12 bulls. Okay. Day number, what is it? Day number 3, 11 bulls. So you can see he's descending. So the more the days go up, first day, second day, first day is 13, second day is 12, third day 11, and he keeps going on and keeps going down and down and down until you get to the 5th day and the 6th day. Listen, here it is. On the 7th day, look at this. He went all the way up from 14 bulls to 7 on the 7th day to complete. These numbers have something to do with it. I mention this because people say, well, we can't keep the festivals, which is not necessarily true. We can't keep the offerings, but we can't acknowledge what the Most High has said, because in our acknowledgement of it, we're acknowledging that the Most High did everything that he said he did. So when you acknowledge the Passover, you're saying Yah delivered the children of Israel. When you acknowledge matzah, you say that Yah brought the children of Israel quick and fast. The first fruits, the Most High promised to give us the land. Feast of Shavuot, Yah promised to give a harvest. Yom Teruah, blow the trumpet, because the Day of Atonement is coming and also represents setting captives free. Why? Because Yah set us free. Day of Atonement. Why? We sinned against the Most High. This is a Day of Atonement. No eating of any food. 1 24-hour period. Feast of Sukkot, it's in gathering everything that Yah gave us that he promised to our fathers. So if we acknowledge those things, then you and I, these appointments, then we're saying that the Most High did everything he said that he did. We're being his witnesses. Okay. Now, there is a problem, though, when someone is trying to offer a bull, a lamb, or a goat, or any of these things, okay, on any of these holidays, or any of these Moedim. Yah says this: heaven is my throne. This is in Isaiah 66 to validate what I'm saying. Heaven is my throne, says Yahweh, and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house could you build for me? What sort of place could you devise for my rest? And the answer to that is no place. He says, didn't I myself make all these things? What, heaven and earth? Yes. So this is how they all came to be, says Yahweh. The kind of person on whom I look with favor is the one with a poor and humble spirit who trembles at my word. That's the person I'm looking towards. Okay. Those others, and when he's talking about those others, are other people that refuse to be humble. Okay. He says those others might as well kill a person as an ox. Now he's mentioning an ox because it has to do with the offering. Break a dog's neck as a sacrifice for a lamb because that has to do with the tabernacle, as well as offer pig's blood as a grain offering, as well as bless an idol as burn incense. All the things that are service are supposed to be done in the tabernacle. Just as these have chosen their ways and enjoyed their disgusting practices, so I will enjoy making fools of them and bring on them the very things that they fear and tremble. For when I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they did not hear. Instead, they did what was evil in my sight, and they chose what did not please me, meaning that you and I cannot go and prescribe another way of worshiping Yah on these in particular festivals. Okay, we can't, because we don't. If we were to go try to offer a bull or a lamb or anything, he says, if you kill the bull, it's like you're killing a person. Don't choose your way. Okay, Yah asks us to remember. That's what he's asked us to do, especially while we're in our exile. So anyone's talking about they offer something and all that kind of stuff, they're very dangerous. Okay. 66, of course, he talks about the heaven being in his throne. I think I had that there. I've got to move on. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was it 81? I don't want to read 81. I want to get right to it. 52. Nope. It's this one. Tell the rebels. Okay. I think this is, it's Ezekiel 44. In our Torah portion this week in our Haftarah, this is part of our Torah portion. Yahweh said something to Ezekiel, and he said, and this is in regard to the priest, okay, and the set apart times. Yahweh said to me, human being, pay attention, okay, see with your eyes and hear with your ears everything I will tell you about the regulations, okay, of Yahweh's house and about all of its Torah. So there's a Torah, an instruction that's supposed to go with Yah's house. Pay attention to who can enter the house and who must be excluded from the sanctuary. Okay, so now it's going to be very, very clear. You're to tell the rebels, the house of Israel, because that's who the house of Israel is a bunch of rebels, that this is what Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, says. House of Israel, enough of all your disgusting practices. Look what they did. You brought foreigners, uncircumcised in both heart and flesh, to be in my sanctuary and profane it. Yes, my house. So his house on earth is his sanctuary. When you offer my blood and the fat and the blood, thus in addition to all your disgusting practices, they broke my covenant. They broke my covenant. Who broke my covenant? My covenant with Lewi. Okay, I have a covenant with Lewi. They broke that covenant. There's several covenants the Most High has made. It's not just one covenant, there's several covenants. We're going to go over a few of them today. But Yah's concerned with those who are circumcised both in their mind and in their body. The New Testament tells you don't have to be circumcised. The Most High says that anybody that's not circumcised cannot come into my sanctuary. And a matter of fact, no foreigner is allowed in Yah's sanctuary. Okay? And let me be clear about this word foreigner. That's anybody. Okay? Any body. Why is this pen don't want to work? Let me just say it. Anybody that is not part of this Lewiim covenant. You're bringing foreigners. Someone's foreign to this service. And you can see in our history that children of Israel will go and pick people and make them a priest and have them officiating in Yah's sanctuary. That's what they did. Instead of taking care of my holy things yourselves, talking about the Lewiim, you put these people in charge of my sanctuary, which is my house. So Yah's house is a sanctuary. And we know in our Torah portion, he said, anybody that's not part of this family not supposed to be doing this. Here is what the Supreme Master Yahweh says: no foreigner, uncircumcised in both heart and flesh, letting you know that you must be circumcised in both of those areas, is to enter my sanctuary. No foreigner living among the people of Israel, including the foreigner. Rather, the Lewiim, the people who I used to join Israel to me, because that's what Lewiim means, to join, who went far away from me when Israel went astray, going astray after their idols. They will bear the consequences of their guilt, of their twistedness and their perversion. But they are, they'll bear the consequences of their guilt, but they are to serve in my sanctuary. And what he means by this, everyone, the consequence of their actions from when they left Yah, okay, is that that's what they're going to bear. Meaning, like, you guys are not going to be able to come where I want you to because you left me. You went away from me. When Israel went astray, you went far away from me. And when you go away from me, you're going to have to bear the consequence of that. What he's saying is, I'm not letting anybody go. Just like I wouldn't let you have a moon, which is a defect in your body. You can't present that to me. I'm not going to let you do something to me and you're going to act like you didn't do it. There's consequences for your behavior. And more specifically for this in particular family right here, they're going to pay a heavy cost because Yah has allowed them to draw closer to him than any other family. He said, but y'all let you serve me in my sanctuary, meaning you'll be in charge of the maintenance. They'll have charge over the gates, the gates of the house. They'll serve in the house, but they're not coming into the actual sanctuary. Yah's sanctuary is consistent of a big gold box, okay? And then he also has the temple itself, which are the other rooms that go around it, okay? So when he's saying this, he's saying, look, you guys are not going to be able to draw near to me, this certain group of people, okay? And they will, they will have charge over the gates. So they're going to be like doing some maintenance stuff. They're going to be like little contractors, and they will slaughter the burnt offerings. I'll let you do that. And for the sacrifice of the people, and they will stand and serve them. So you can serve the people, but you're not coming into my sanctuary because they serve them in the presence of their idols. So because you serve them, the people, right, in the presence of your idols, now you're going to have to serve them again. Okay. You're going to have to serve them in the presence of their idols. Now you're going to serve these people who bring their offerings now to me, and became an occasion of sin for the house of Israel. You're the ones who caused these people to sin. And I'm raising my hand against them. Against who? Against his family right here, the Leviim, says the Supreme Master Yahweh, and they will bear the consequences of their guilt. There is a cost. They will not approach me to serve me in the office of the Kohen. That's off the table. That's off the table. Or approach any of the holy things, or especially holy things, but they will bear their shame for their disgusting practices they committed. The they, again, is the Leviim. Okay? Yes, I will put them in charge of the house and all of its maintenance and everything to be done in it. Now he goes on and he tells us something about the other division within the family of Leviim. He says, however, the Kohanim, which are the priest, they're from the family, they're from this family, but their service is different. He says, this descendants of Zadok. Zadok means righteous, who took care of my sanctuary when the people of Israel went astray from me. So certain people were with Yah, and other people were faithful to Yah. And they are the ones who will approach me, meaning draw near to me and serve me. It is they who will attend me and offer me the fat and the blood, says Yahweh the Elohim. They will enter my sanctuary, approach my table, the gold one, and minister to me and perform my service. That's the whole purpose of the Kohanim, is to perform the service of the Most High. And he says, once they enter the gates in the inner court, they are to wear linen clothing. They are not to wear wool like while serving in the gates in the inner court or inside. So once they walk through to the sanctuary, they're going to have to change their clothes. They are to wear linen turbans on their heads, linen underclothes on their bodies. They are not to wear anything that makes them sweat. So now we see that, guess what? They can't approach me if they're sweating. I don't want to smell you. You understand? Before going out to the people in the outer courtyard, because that's where the people are going to be, and that's where the Leviim are going to be, they are to remove their clothes in which they ministered. Why? And they're going to lay them in the holy rooms and put on other clothes so that they won't transmit holiness to the people by the means of their clothing. In our Torah portion, we learn that holiness can be transferred from clothes. Holiness can be transferred from food. That's why he said if anybody ate any of the bread that was for the priest, that the holiness can be transferred to that person. So we see something about Kodashim. We see something about being set apart. We see that there's some element to it that allows a person to touch something. If you touch anything of Yah's, you got to be clean. And then you ate it and you're designated and you're appointed to be holy, you can touch it. But if you're not appointed and you touch it, there's a penalty. There's a penalty. So when you think about the New Testament, and this guy says he's Christ in the New Testament, he's God and so forth, and some woman touches the hem of his garment, and he's supposed to be holy, and he said, oh, well, the virtue went out for me. And she touched him, and then automatically she's healed? No. You couldn't touch somebody that was set apart because the uncleanness from them. Okay, listen, an unclean person not supposed to touch a clean person. Uncleanness can be transferred from one person to the next person. You sit on a bed that a woman had a menstrual cycle on, you got unclean. You sit on a man in a bed that a man has Azarite, you become unclean. So what are y'all telling us? He's saying that there's another dimension that you and I don't understand that exists. So when we talk about the Sabbath and it's Kodashim, listen, we're in a day, okay, that Yah has designated and appointed as Kodashim, okay? So on today, you and I there's something being transmitted. There's something that's on you right now. So this is the reason why he said, if you did anything, they profane my Shabbats. We got to be careful. We have to be careful about what we say. Remember, the Torah portion is about what someone's saying, a continuation. We got to be careful what we're saying. We got to be careful about Yah's name. We got to be careful about the days that he said it is his. We got to be careful about anything that pertains to Yah. We got to be careful. Holiness can be transferred from food, clothing, touch, anything, just like uncleanness. There's another dimension, okay? So he's letting us know that, listen, holiness can be transferred. I don't want this holiness to be transmitted to anybody. I want this Kodashim to be transmitted to the people by their clothing. They are not to shave their heads or let their hair grow long, but must keep their hair carefully trimmed. This is just giving us information about the Kohen. The Kohen is to drink wine. No Kohen is to drink wine when he enters the inner courtyard, because of what Nadav and Abihu did. You know, when you're inebriated, it messes up your senses. You can't think straight and you'll be put to death. Okay. They may not marry a widow. They can't marry a widow or a divorcee, but must marry virgins descended from the house of Israel. Period. So if you're from the family of Levi and you're Kohanim, you cannot marry anybody. In our Torah portion, it said that a man can marry a widow, and he could marry a divorcee if he was a Kohen. The high priest is the one who couldn't do a widow or a divorcee. He had to marry a virgin. So we see that Yah's going to actually upgrade the Kohanim. So now the Kohanim, who are Aaron's sons and all those other ones, they're not going to be able to marry a widow. That's off the table now. No divorcee. That's off the table. The only people they're going to be able to marry is virgins, and those virgins have to come out of Israel, from the house of Israel, from their family. You understand? When he talks about here, the house of Israel, you don't want to disqualify, okay? So what he's saying here is we want to keep the line clean. You understand? This is the reason why he tells us that if you have a Kohen's daughter who goes out and prostitutes herself, she's supposed to be set on fire. The virgins are important because they help purify and keep the line clean from any profaning, okay? So when that seed comes, Yah says, okay, a virgin is pure. Guess what? His seed, he's been set apart. He could put that seed in that land. That land has been designated, hasn't been touched by anybody, and is consecrated. A virgin here means that a woman has been consecrated. That's what virginity is, consecration. Okay. And so the house of Israel, or a widow who is descended, let me see, from the house of Israel, or a widow who deceased husband was a Kohen. Okay. So they're going to marry those people, excuse me, whose husband was a Kohen. Okay. But he's talking about a widow or divorcee from the house of Israel. You can't do that. Okay. They are to teach. This is the part I wanted to bring out. They are to teach my people. Remember, the Most High told us through Moshe in chapter number 33 that that's their designation, to teach my people the difference between Kadosh and common and enable them to distinguish between clean and unclean. That's the goal. That's the goal. Okay. So that's the purpose of the Kohen. So right now, do we have anybody teaching us the difference between holy and common, or distinguish between clean and unclean? Not according to Yah's level. We don't have a Kohen. You don't have a Kohen. Okay. So they are to be judges in controversies. That's another aspect of their job. They're supposed to judge in controversy. They are to render decisions in keeping with my rulings. Didn't say anything about a king doing that, did it? They're the ones, as I told you earlier this week, at all my designated appointed festivals, they are to keep my laws and regulations, and they are also to keep my Shabbats. So, Kadosh. So they're the ones who are supposed to tell us about and how to keep all Yah's designated times and his festivals. They're the ones, because it has to do with the offerings. They're the ones who are supposed to keep the Shabbats Kadosh. They're the ones who are supposed to teach us. They are not to come to any dead person, because this would make them unclean. Okay. Then he allows it and says, father or mother, son or daughter, brother or sister, a sister who has who has no husband, they may make themselves unclean. Okay. That's what it is. And here it is. After Kohen has been purified, he's to wait how many days? 7 days. You see? After he's been purified, he has to wait 7 days. A time and oath. Okay, so Yah deals in the sevens. That's their job. That's their responsibility. Okay. Where am I at? How much time do I have? Where am I at? Okay, this is the part I want to go over right quick. All right, we're going to take this last segment, and I want to bring out some other stuff. I don't think I have enough time to bring that out. Let me see. Chapter number 33, 14, Okay. Where are you? Let's see. 26. Hebrew. All right, that's 31. Where's this at? That's 31. What is this at? Where's this one? 52. 44. Oh, here you go. All right, so here it is. I want to go over this right quick. In the so-called New Testament, okay, the New Covenant, I want you to listen very carefully. Okay, I'm going to take one piece of this and we're going to break it down so we can finally put an end to what they're talking about. It says, here is the whole point of what we've been saying. Earlier this week, this writer told us that they have a priesthood that lives forever. And it said that the priesthood that they have fits their needs, and that they don't need the priesthood of Aaron and his sons anymore. So to continue on what we learned earlier this week, it says, here is the whole point of what we've been saying. Okay. We do have just such a Kohen Hagadol as has been described, talking about the Yeshua guy. And he does sit at the right hand of the Hagadolah in heaven, meaning he's sitting right next to the Most High. There he serves in the holy place. So he's saying there's a holy place that is the true tent of meeting, the one erected not by human beings, but by, here they put Adonai, which in their text, it would really say God. Okay. What this author is doing, he's trying to put Yah over here. I'm going to keep it 100. Okay. For every Kohen Hagadol is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices. So this Kohen Hagadol, because that's what they're calling Christ, too has to offer something he can offer. Now, if he were on earth, he wouldn't be a Kohen at all. Since there already are Kohanim offering the gifts required by the Torah. So they're saying he's not going to be a Kohen if he was here. So because he's in the heavens, he's doing a whole nother priesthood. Okay. But they are serving, but what they are serving is only a copy or a shadow of the heavenly original. So he's saying the tent of meeting the Most High had Moses built is nothing but a copy. They're saying that the priesthood is nothing but a copy of the heavenly original. For when Moshe was about to erect the tent, Elohim warned him, see it, that you would make everything according to the pattern that you were shown on the mountain. They're using that phrase right there to make us think that the Most High has given Moshe a pattern that's according to the pattern in the heavenlies. And what he got was just a copy. He didn't get the original blueprint. The problem with this is that we understand that the Most High gave him a copy of everything it's supposed to be, is because the Most High says, I'm Kadosh. And that everything has to be according to the detail, because if you make a mistake, okay, in any presentation, then you're misrepresenting what I said. So, but verse number 6, but now the work of Yeshua has been given to do is far superior to theirs. So his work is greater than the Kohanim's, just as the covenant that he mediates is better. For this covenant has been given as Torah on the basis of better promises. Okay, so we got a covenant that we received from Moshe. He got a covenant. Okay, and he has a Torah. Listen, indeed, if the first covenant had not given ground for fault finding, there would have been no need for a second one. Because he's saying that the first covenant has a fault. That's what he's saying. I didn't say it. He said it. He said that there is a fault with the first covenant. Okay. If there wasn't, he said there would be no need for a second one. So he's saying there's a second one. For God does find fault with the people. See how they switched it from the covenant? He now switches to the fault with the people. When he says, see, the days are coming, says Yahweh, when I will establish over the house of Israel and over the house of Yehuda a new covenant. So he's saying that Yah has found fault with the covenant, right? And there's fault finding in it with the first one. And he's also saying that Elohim, God, their God that they're describing, has found fault with the people. And this is the reason why he says, see, there are the days are coming when I will establish over the house of Israel and over the house of Yehuda a new covenant. We're going to look at that. He said, it will not be like the covenant which I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand and led them out of Egypt. So that's the covenant we're talking about. Because they, for their part, did not remain faithful to my covenant. So I, for my part, stopped concerning myself with them, says Yahweh. That's interesting. He said, I stopped concerning myself with them. Okay, so let's go verify and see if this is true. Let's find out if this is true. Let's find out if there's a fault with the first covenant. Let's find out if the reason why he said that he found fault with the people, that he said, you know what, I'm going to establish a new covenant. I'm going to make a new covenant. And it's not going to be like the one I made with them in Egypt. Let's go find out if that's true. And let's find out if he says, I'm going to stop concerning myself with them. That's the big part. I'm going to stop concerning myself with them. So what he really is saying is, I'm going to stop concerning myself with these people. Okay, so let's go find out if this is true. Where's this one at? That covenant that he's talking about is found in the book of Jeremiah, chapter number 31. Okay. Now, what's interesting is this. The writer of the book of Hebrews said several things in there that are not necessarily true. Okay. The first part of it is that what they did was they took an excerpt out of this writing of the prophet, and they didn't give the whole totality of the teaching. Okay. So he only just said, and I'll just read the part that they said, 31:31, here the days are coming, says Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant. That's in English. I will make a new covenant. The days are coming, says Yahweh. Remember, our Torah portion is about Yah talking and saying with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda. This is the part that the book of Hebrews quoted. It will not be like the covenant I made with their fathers on the day that I took them by the hand and brought them out of Mitzrayim, the land of Mitzrayim. That's almost word for word. Because they, for their part, violated my covenant, even though on my part I was a husband. I was a husband to them. Okay, so you see that? I was a husband. But I thought you said in the book of Hebrews that he said that I'm no longer, I've stopped concerning myself with them. So they changed the words. And you might say, well, that's not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. I stopped concerning myself with them, says Yahweh. That's a lie. The Most High has never stopped concerning himself. That's something that they inserted. What he said was, listen carefully, what he said was, for my part, I was a husband to them. I was a husband to them. Did he say he's going to stop concerning himself with them? Did he say that? No. So they changed what he said. Okay, so let's get a little bit deeper. It says that I will make a new covenant, right? So we're going to focus on new. That's what we're going to focus on. Focus on is new, because that's what the big hang up is, new. And it started in verse number 31. But in the Hebrew scriptures, everyone, the complete teaching, okay, begins in verse number 7. Okay, so let me take you up there. So here's verse number 31, right? And right before you get to verse number 31, there is this idea of what they call a stuma in the Hebrew scriptures. This is what you will call a pause. Okay, it's not an end of a teaching, it's a pause. It's one aspect of everything that I'm going to give you a full picture of. So it's just a piece of the puzzle. It's not the full puzzle, okay? So where does the puzzle begin? Or where does the piece begin? Where does it start, right? So if you've been in my classes, you know that I don't just pick one scripture. I try to figure out exactly everything that's been said, okay? So it actually starts in verse number 7. Okay, and I'm going to prove that to you. So you can get full context. And this is what learning and being Hebrew is about. It's about learning. You just don't accept little excerpts that someone snatches out of a book and puts it over in their book and say, this is what has been said. No, it's disgraceful to the author, because it's not what his intention is. So right here in verse number 7, right above verse number 7, there's this hutukah right here, which is a pay. This means that every verse from this point, from right here, this last word right here, that means that this is an end of a teaching. And everything coming down here means that now it's open to a whole nother complete different teaching. And between that, you're going to have little stumas. You're going to have an S after one thing, and you have another one. And that means I need to pause and think about what was just said. Okay, so we're not going to read all the way from verse number 7 all the way to 31, but what we're going to do is I want you to know where it starts. So the first part where this teaching begins is verse number 7. And it says, Hiko Amar. Of course, that's our Torah portion word right there, because Yah is always speaking. Ko Amar, this means let it be and exist. The Yah himself, he says, sing for Yaakov with gladness and shout among the chief of nations. Okay, meaning that the Most High is telling everyone that Jacob is going to be the chief of nations. Okay, and also too, and I'm reading from right to left, and he says that not only is he going to be the chief of nations, but I also want you to proclaim and give praise, and you guys, plural, here are going is that Yahweh That's what you're going to say. Yahweh has caused to save his people. His people. The remnant. Okay, so this has to do with the people that are online. Okay, Yah is going to save the remnant of Israel because there's only going to be a small group of people that Yah is going to deliver. Okay, and where's that found in English? Again, verse number 7 tells us this: sing with joy for Yaakov, and he's talking to the nations. Sing with joy for Yaakov, shout for the chief of nations. Okay, proclaim your praise and say, Yahweh, you have saved your people, the remnant of Israel. See, and then Yah says something, look, I'm bringing them from the land of the north and gathering them for the far ends of the earth. Among them are the blind, the lame, the women with children, women in labor all together in a vast throng returning here. Where? To the land. They will come weeping and praying as I bring them back. I will lead them by the streams of water on smooth paths so that they won't stumble, for I am a father to Yisrael, and Ephraim is my firstborn son. Okay. Now you say, well, I thought he said Israel was. Yes, Israel is his firstborn son. The name of Israel has been transferred over to Ephraim. When Jacob was dying, his name is Israel. He gave the blessing to Joseph's youngest son and transferred the right of firstborn to Ephraim. Then he says, nations, hear the word of Yahweh and do what? Proclaim it in the coastlands far away. Say, he who scattered Israel is gathering him, guarding him like a shepherd his flock. See? And then Yah says, for Yahweh has redeemed Yaakov and redeemed him from hands who were too strong for him. So this is a continual teaching that goes all the way down to verse number 31. But before you get to verse number 31, listen what it says. Verse number 27 is, here the days are coming. That's the theme that you find in number 31. You got to find some similarities in the language, which tells us here the days are coming. Here it says, here the days are coming. Says Yahweh, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda with seed. I'm going to give them seed of humans and seed of animals. I will make a new covenant with them, of the house of Israel. See? So here he talks about the house of Israel, and then he says, well, house of Yehuda. And then down here he says the house of Israel. Why didn't he mention the house of Yehuda? Excuse me, he does mention them. The house of Yehuda. I'm making a new covenant with both of these houses. Okay? Now listen to this. So when he talks about here the days are coming, the here the days are coming in verse number 27 is directly connected to here the days are coming in verse number 31. So in the book of Hebrews tells us here the days when Yah says that he's disappointed. Do you remember what he said? I'll read it one more time. He said that the Most High found fault with his people. Indeed, going back to the book of Hebrews, it said, indeed, if the first covenant had not given ground for fault finding, there would be no need for the second one. God does find fault with the people when he says, and then they're going to quote 31, and here the days are coming. See, the days are coming. So he's only mentioning that part so it can fit their narrative. Okay. So when you go back over to what the Most High said over in 31, where am I in 31? 31. Where's it at? 31. Am I in 31? No, I'm in Hebrew day. Okay. 31. 31. Here you go. Here we are where it says, here the days are coming. 31, here the days are coming. These are connected. If they're connected, Yah says that when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda with seed of humans and a seed of animals. Why is he doing that? Why is he giving the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda seed? Seed of humans. Why does he want to give seed of humans? And why is he talking about seeds of animal? He's doing it because the land has been desolate. There's not been anybody there. There's been no animals. There's been nothing. So he's going to replenish this, right? He says, at that time, what time? At the time when those days come, just as I used to watch over them with the intent to uproot, to break down, overthrow, destroy, and do harm. So then I will watch over them, the people that Hebrews said that he stopped concerning himself with, to build and to plant. I'm going to build them by giving them seed of humans and seed of animals. If I give you seed of humans and seed of animals, they're going to need something to eat, which is called food. And you only get your food from the land. So Yah has not stopped concerning himself with the house of Israel. This is some at that time. At what time? When those days come. Let me continue. When those days come, they will no longer say, the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Meaning that the children are not going to experience anything that the fathers have done. Rather, each will die for his own sin. When? When at that time, put all the pieces together. At that time, we're teaching. At that time, what time? When those days come. At that time, each will die for his own sin. The same, here the days are coming. So I'm going to hold everybody responsible for their own sin. Everyone who eats sour grapes will, his own teeth will be set on edge. And you can find this in the book of Ezekiel. You can find, I got two participants with your hands up. Go ahead.
Also wanted to say that as far as our covenant is concerned, in Leviticus 44, it says, yet for all that, when they are in their enemies' lands, I will not cast them away, nor shall I abhor them to utterly destroy them and break my covenant with them.
Wow.
So that says right then and there that, that what they're saying in the New Testament is a lie.
Okay. So if you can see my screen that you see, you're already in my lesson. That's where we're going next.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm already there, right? We're all there. Okay. So praise Yah for that. That's just confirmation. Like this is where we're going. So what I'm trying to show everyone here is that the Most High had an intention and everything to do harm to us, but also too, when he says for the days are coming, he's also connecting it to this time right here. It's the same time. It's the same time. Because at one point I was going to overthrow you and destroy you, and I did do you harm. I did tear you down. I did do all these things to you. I did watch over you to do these things and to uproot you and break you. I did that. But I'm also the one who's watching over you to build and plant you. So when those days come, no one is going to die for anyone's sins. Every person will die for his own sins. So if Christ died for our sins, then why is everyone here dying for their own sins? You should ask somebody that. Here the days are coming, says Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant. What days? The days that I put the seed of men back in the land. The day that I put the house of Israel with the seed of animals and humans. That day is coming. So when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. It's not new. The Hebrew word here is called kadash. And kadash means to be refreshed or renewed, like the moon. It's not a new moon. When he says it's a new moon, is it a brand new moon? It's never been made before. No, it goes through a cycle and it's renewed every single month. So it said, it will not be like the covenant I made with their fathers on the day that I took them by their hand and I brought them out of the land of Egypt. So what kind of way is it going to be now? If it's not going to be this way, then what kind of way is it going to be? When he took them by the hand, who did he use to lead them out of Egypt? Who did Yah use to take the children of Israel out of Egypt?
Moshe,
He used Moshe. Who's the person who gave the Torah to the children of Israel?
Moshe,
Moshe. Who's the one who taught them about the diet? Moshe.
Okay.
Moshe did all that because the children of Israel, Dr. Yared, tell us why Moshe did it versus the Most High.
The people were afraid and they didn't want to hear the words.
Thank you. The people did not want to hear the Most High. So they said, let Moshe go and find out, and talk for us, and we'll do everything he says. Okay. So that's the reason why Moshe, not because Yah intended it, it was because they wanted it. Okay. You can find that in Deuteronomy 18 as well. So it says here that Yah says, I'm going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel. It's going to be different. The way that it's going to be different, everyone, is that the Most High is not going to use Moshe or any other man to tell us anything. And this is confirmation of that. He says, because for their part, they violated my covenant, which they did. This is true. Even though on my part, I was a husband, which in book of Hebrews, it says, I didn't concern myself with them no more. That's not true. For this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahweh. After what days? After the days of me tearing them down. When the days are coming. What days? So there's a day that's coming. After what days? After the days that I've tore them down, after the days I broke them down, after the days I destroyed them, after all those days, I will put my Torah within them and write it on their minds. I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. Now, when you look at the book of Hebrews, they mention this. Okay. So when he says, and listen, let me finish. 34 says, no longer will any of them teach his fellow community member or his brother, saying, know Yahweh, for all will know me from the least of them to the greatest, because I will forgive their wickedness and remember their sins no more. In the book of Hebrews, it says, I'll have mercy on them. They don't even use the word shalach, meaning to send away their sins. So the Most High is saying, I will get rid of all of their transgressions they've done against me. Did he mention anything here about somebody dying for their sins when he just recently told us up here in verse number 30 that whoever does this will die for his own sin? No. But let's get down to what you can use for your future reference about I will put my Torah and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. Because that's the key. That's the key. So let's ask the question. Let's just, for argument's sake, say in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, right here, when they said what they said about verse number 11, none of them will teach his fellow citizen or brother, saying, no Yahweh, for all will know me from the least to the greatest, because I will be merciful, which we found is forgiveness toward their wickedness and remember their sins no more. Let's ask the question. Look, by using the term new, he has made the first covenant old. Something being made old, something in the process of aging is on its way from vanishing altogether. See how they put that there? They want to get rid of Yah's covenant. So the question is this, for argument's sake, if this guy who is called the Kohen Hagadol, called Christ, that they're saying it is, and he's saying he found fault with Yah's law, and he says that we're in a new covenant, they're saying this is the covenant they're under. If Yah has put the Torah on their minds and wrote it on their hearts, who did Yah write the Torah on their minds and put it in their hearts from the Christian's perspective? Did Yah write the Torah on the minds of the Christians? Let me ask a better question. When you were a Christian, did you know the Torah?
no,
Okay. And how long were you a Christian?
almost all my life.
Okay, so we find there's a witness there. Is there anybody else who'd like to give testimony before the court today? Is there anybody else? I'll give testimony myself, but I'm not going to do that. I want someone else to testify. Somebody else tell me, before you came into this way of life, when you were a Christian, did you know the Torah? Is there anyone else?
Well, I didn't know the Torah, and I got raised in a household with a minister. It was a father.
Okay, there's another. So in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. So if he did put the Torah in their minds and write it on their hearts of this Christ character, then why does anybody know the Torah? Why didn't they know about the diet? Why don't they know about the appointed times? Why don't they know that there's only one Elohim? So you see the game that they're playing. They're saying that he's going to give them a Torah. And what Torah is that? Well, in another book, in the book of Romans, it talks about a whole nother Torah. You see, of faith, not of works. And they have a Torah of grace. Okay? Not you'll be cut off. You see? So this is the reason why people want this, because they can believe in this other Torah. Okay? So the Torah that they're talking about is not, so they're using Yah's words from his prophet about the Torah that is going to be given to the children of Israel. That's another question. When Yah told us in the book of Jeremiah that I will put my Torah on their minds and write it on their hearts, who was he talking to? The house of Israel and the house of Yehuda. Was he talking about the stranger and the foreigner and the goyim? Was he talking about all those other people? Did he mention them? No, because in that same chapter, he tells the nations to sing for Yaakov. Am I correct? Or am I missing something? You see?
You're correct.
So the bottom line is this covenant is made with the house of Israel. Okay. Now I told you that the key signature, everyone, is this. This is how you'll know that you're not, that's a false covenant and it's not real. Okay. He says that I will put my Torah, but that's not only the part, because Christians argue with this all the time. Well, I believe you put it in my heart. I love God. Okay, that's fine. But look, it doesn't end with a period right here. There's no period there. So it's a continuation of thought. I will be their God and they will be my people. Okay, so let's go find out what that means, because he says the days are coming. The days are coming. The days are coming. Verse number 31, verse number 27. Here the days are coming at that time. Okay, so listen. Where can we find those days are coming? Here you go. Let's read a couple of things of where those days are coming. What's the phrase that those days are coming, right? But he says this, don't forget what I'm about to tell you. I will be their God, their Elohim, and they will be my people. So whatever was said from where we read all the way down, this is the conclusion. The conclusion is, the pen ain't working. The end game and the conclusion is this. I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. Can we all agree on that? Because that's part of it, right? Unless we're just going to read the little part where I'll put the Torah in their minds and write it on their hearts. And no, let's see what it is. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter number 34, verse number 24 says, I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim. And my servant David will be prince among them. You're listening, you figure this out for yourselves and you tell me if this has happened. Okay? Because he says, I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. I, Yahweh, will be their Elohim. And my servant David will be their prince among them. So when Yah will be our Elohim, that means that somebody else will be our prince. And that prince will be what? According to verse number 24. Somebody talk to me. The prince is going to be what?
From the line of David.
He's going to be from there, but he will be among them. I will be their Elohim, and my servant David will be a prince among them. So when Yah decides that he's going to be our Elohim at this point, he's saying, I'm going to not only be your Elohim, but David will be your prince. I, Yahweh, have spoken. Because this is what it's talking about, Yah speaking, right? What else is the Most High said? So first is, I will be their Elohim. What else he says? I will what? I will make a covenant of peace with them. Are you at peace with Yah? Are we as a people, not individually, as a nation, are we at peace with Yah?
No.
Is everybody gathered together and celebrating together? No, we're not. So he says, I will make a covenant of peace with them. I will rid the land of wild animals. Why are there wild animals there? Somebody tell me. Why are wild animals in the land right now?
I guess because there are no humans there.
Thank you. There's when he talks about seed of animals, for us, it's talking about domestic animals. These are wild animals. They've taken over the land. And they will be securely, and they will live securely in the desert and sleep in the forest. I will make them in the places around my hill a blessing. I will cause the rain to fall when it should, and there will be showers of blessing. What's the showers of blessing for what? What's the end result of the blessing? What is he talking about? Why is he giving rain? Somebody tell me.
Increase.
I want to give you some what?
Food.
I'm going to give you some food. Therefore, you need rain. Okay? The trees in the field will bear fruit, and the soil its produce, and they will be secure in their land. Oh, so when the trees bear their fruit and the soil is produce, then that means I can keep first fruits, and I can keep what's the other festival that we celebrate for 7 days?
The Feast of Weeks and
Sukkot. Yes,
Mhm.
Feast of Weeks. Sukkot. Okay. Feast of Tabernacles, because that's when you do the ingathering, you gather all the fruit. Okay. And guess what else? This word secure in the desert. They will be secure in their land. This is what they call salvation. Security, food security. That's our starvation. That's our salvation. Salvation for a Christian and religious people is being saved from their sins that they commit every day. They're saved from the wrath of God. You and I are looking for food security. You're looking for salvation through food. Then they will know that I am Ani Yahweh when I break the bars of the yoke and rescue them from the power of those who turn them into slaves. So you're saying that you're going back into slavery? Yes. Are you saying I'm going to break the yoke that's on your neck? Yes. You saying that I need to rescue you? Yes. You're saying that, remember, we read, it says that I got to deliver Jacob from those who are stronger than my servant. I got to break them from the power of those who turn them into slaves. I made your enemy stronger than you so I can come and rescue you. No longer will they be prey for the Goyim. Oh, really? Oh, we've been prey for the Goyim? Who? The nations. Nor will the wild animals devour them, but they will live securely against salvation. They will live securely with no one to make them afraid in their land. I will make the productivity of their crops famous. That's their wine, that's their food, that's their olive oil, that's all the things that they're going to have. They will no longer be consumed by hunger in the land or bear the shame of the nations anymore. There ain't enough food out here for us. They will know that I, Yahweh, their Elohim, am with them. When what? And that they, the house of Israel, are my people, says Yahweh Elohim. When I bring you back to your land, that's when you're going to know that I'm with you. That's when you're going to be my people. You are my sheep, the sheep in my pasture. I thought we read earlier in chapter number 31, where he says he's leading his people as a shepherd his flock. You are the sheep in my pasture, are human beings. I am your Elohim. I am your Elohim. There is nobody else. There's no one else who saved you. That's why I got to do all these things that I just told you. That's in 34. To go along with me giving you new covenant, and I will be your Elohim, and you will be my people. Chapter number 36 in the book of Ezekiel. So you went to 34 in Ezekiel. Now let's look at 36. I will Who's talking? Yeah, I will set apart my great name, my kadosh name, my reputation to be regarded as kadosh, since it has been profaned in the nations. You profaned it among them. The nations will know that I am Yahweh, says the Supreme Master Yahweh, when before their eyes I am set apart through you to be regarded as holy. For I will take you from among the nations, gather you from all the countries, and return you to your own soil. The soil that I just mentioned in 34, they said is going to be productive, the soil that's going to be famous. Then I will sprinkle you with clean water on you, and you will be clean because you're unclean right now. I will cleanse you from all your uncleanness and from all your idols. Christ did not do this for you, and I will give you a new mind and put a new spirit inside of you. I will take the stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit inside of you. When I bring you back to your own soil, when I gather you, I will put my spirit in you and cause you to live by my laws and respect my rulings and obey them. I got to take that old mind of yours and give you a new mind. So when I do give you my laws and statutes and commandments in my Torah, you will be able to do them and keep them. You will respect my rulings and obey them when I give you this new heart. You will live in the land I gave to your ancestors, the one that I Nishba promised. Nishba. Nishba. Oh, let's see. That's a noon. That's a shin. And that's a bet. And that's the ayin. Oh, there's your word 7 right there. Sheva. Oh, you swore something to get to my ancestors? You 7'd my ancestors? I will be. Listen what he says. You will be, just like in Jeremiah chapter number 31, my people. And I will be your Elohim. Jeremiah chapter number 31, 34. So everything he says about giving you a new heart and I'm going to write my Torah has to do with this process. This has to happen in order for me to do that. So when they say in the book of Hebrews, chapter number 8, that he gave you a new covenant, what they want you to forget is the soil. What they want you to forget is the land and put your focus on heaven. That doesn't belong to you. I made the earth for you and everything in it. I made you the way I made you and gave you hands so you could work the soil. And after you work that soil, and after you till that ground, and after you harvest, you're going to bring a basket to me. And you're going to lift your hands up and you're going to praise me with those hands that I gave you. You're going to thank me for the 6 days you were able to use them, and the 7th day you're going to rest them. And you're going to use those hands at that day to lift up and praise and give Todah Rabbah to me, because I'm the one. I'm the one who's causing you to live in the land that I gave your ancestors. I'm the one who decided to be your Elohim. I'm the one who's going to gather you. I'm the one. I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. And there's nobody else. There's nobody else feeding you. There's no one else who's going to save you in verse number 29. I will save you from all your uncleannesses, your uncleanliness. Now, am I going to do that? I will summon the grain and increase it. I'm not the only one that's going to summon it. I'm not only going to do that, but I'm also going to call for the showers so you can increase your grain. So you have something to eat. And not only that, I'm going to increase it. I'm going to multiply it, because if I'm going to multiply the seed of humans and animals, I need to feed them too, because I'm the self-efficient one. I'm the sufficient one. I'm the one who gives everybody everything they need. And not send famine against you. This is what I am going to do. I will, will multiply the yield of the fruit from the trees. Not the tree, I'm going to multiply it from the trees. I'm going to increase the production in the fields. I'm going to do those things. You thought it was the field. You thought it was the tree. You thought it was you. It's me. So that you will never again suffer the reproach, the embarrassment of famine among the nations. Then you will remember your evil ways and your actions, that they were not good. As you look at yourselves, you will loathe, hate yourselves for your guilt and your disgusting practices. Understand, says the Supreme Master Yahweh, that I'm not doing this for your sake. Instead, be ashamed and be dismayed for your ways, house of Israel. Yahweh Elohim, the Supreme Master, says, when the day comes, remember, here the days are coming, for me to cleanse you from all your guilt, because I'm going to forgive all your sins in 31 in Jeremiah, I will cause the cities to be inhabited. That's when you know that I gave you my Torah, is when you're back in your cities and you're inhabiting them with humans and animals, and the ruins will be rebuilt. The land that was what? Desolate will be tilled with what? Your hands. Whereas formerly lay desolate for all passers-by to see, then they will say, the land that used to be desolate has become like the Garden of Eden. And its cities formerly ruined and smashed and broken down, abandoned and wasted, have been fortified and are inhabited. Then the nations around you that remain will know that I, Yahweh, have rebuilt the ruins and replanted what was abandoned. I, Yahweh, have spoken, and I will do it. The Supreme Master Yahweh says, in addition, I will let the house of Israel pray to me, not some other foreign god, to do this for them, to increase their numbers like sheep. Oh, so I'm the one who gives the increase of the sheep, and I'm the one who gives the increase of the body. I'm the one who increases the fruit of the fields, the fruit of the trees, the fruit of the womb, the fruit of flocks and animals. For the flocks of sheep and sacrifices like flocks of sheep in Jerusalem at its designated times. As it is appointed times, and we went over the 7 times, I will increase all these things so you can show up in Yerushalayim at its designated times. In this degree, the ruined cities will be filled with flocks of people. Then they will say, and then they will know that I am. I'm Yahweh. I'm Yahweh. There is nobody else. Okay? So I brought all this out not to get you all fired up. I brought it out because I want you to understand that this is about food, clothing, and shelter. Somebody has their Claudia, your hand's up again. Or do you have another question? Or I didn't take your hand down. Listen, everyone. This is about survival. Yah is going to take us out of here. Okay. If I can't burden you for just a few more moments, I want to share something with you. Okay. I want to share what was in my mind this morning. And I said, you know what? And it was all in my head. And it was chapter number 52 of the book of Isaiah. This was in like a dream I was in. And this came to my mind. I was like, what does this have to do? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So this is the culmination. I didn't know if I almost forgot to read it, but this was in my dream. Okay. It just kept coming over. Isaiah 52, Isaiah 50. I'm like, that don't have nothing to do with the Torah portion. You know, what does that got to do with anything? So this is what it was. And you take it for what it's worth. Awake, awake, Zion. Okay. Clothe yourself with your strength. Dress in splendid garments. Jerusalem or Yerushalayim, the holy city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will enter you no more. Shake off the dust, arise and be enthroned, Yerushalayim. Loosen the chains on your neck, captive daughter of Zion. For thus saith Yahweh, you were sold for nothing. You will be redeemed without money. For thus saith the supreme master Yahweh. I read and I tell you what I know from the Hebrew. That's why it says Adonai Elohim, but that term right there, the title is supreme master Yahweh. Long ago, this is what Yah says. Long ago, my people went down to Mizraim to live there as aliens. And Ashur oppressed them for no reason. So now, what should I do here? Asked Yahweh, since my people were carried off for nothing. Their oppressors are howling, says Yahweh, and my name is always being insulted daily. Therefore, my people will know my name. Therefore, on that day, they will know that I, the one speaking, here I am. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news and proclaiming shalom, bringing good news of good things, announcing salvation to Zion, your king. Elohim is your king. Your Elohim is king, excuse me. Listen, your watchmen are raising their voices and shouting for joy together, for they will see their own eyes, Yahweh returning to Zion. Break out into joy and sing together, you ruins of Yerushalayim, for Yahweh has comforted his people. He has redeemed Yerushalayim. Yahweh has bared his holy arm in the sight of every nation, and all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of our Elohim. Leave, get out of there. Don't touch anything unclean. Get out from inside it and be clean, you who carry Yahweh's temple equipment. You need not leave in haste. You do not have to flee, for Yahweh will go ahead of you, and the Elohim of Israel will also be behind you. See how my servant will succeed. He will be raised up, exalted, highly honored, just as many were appalled at him because he was so disfigured that he didn't even seem human and simply no longer look like a man. So now he will startle many nations. Because of him, kings will be speechless, for they will see what they have not been told, and they will ponder things that they have never heard. That came to me. And what I took from it, everyone, is the Most High is letting us know that the most important part for him, remember he said, it's not for your sake, Israel. You guys haven't been faithful to me. Yah has a greater intent. His intent is to occupy his city. His intent is to restore Zion back to its original beauty. His intent is to put palm trees there, and to elm trees and larches. His intent is to put the sanctuary there. His intent is to populate it with a people that are righteous and that love him. Okay? And so what we find is that the Most High has not done the things that we were told and we were taught. He hasn't done those things yet. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to do it. When Yah speaks, we have to take him at his word. When he swears something, he swears it by his name and his name alone. He doesn't swear by anyone else. The oath that he swore to us and he swore to our fathers, he's given all several types of oaths. It's not just to us and our fathers, to the Lewiim, more specifically to Aaron and his sons, and not only to him and his sons, but to Pinchas, he gave him an oath. He's given his oaths, he's given his promise. I didn't even get to Jeremiah 33 today, which talks about how the Most High made a promise that he has to keep. Yah keeps his promises. So, as a people, we're preparing ourselves and we're getting ready to embark upon something wonderful and something great and something to look forward to. I'm not giving anyone any guarantees that, I'm going to see it. I don't know. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to see these things, but maybe not. Maybe I won't be able to see it. Maybe I'll drift away and go be gathered to my people. And whatever that may be. But right now, while we're on this earth, we all have a responsibility and a job to do, and we shouldn't be occupied with a person who's a fake priest that nobody's ever seen, okay, and believe in something, to have faith in something that we've never seen, that's ridiculous. The Most High didn't tell us to believe there's a tree outside when there isn't. There is a tree, and if it's one there, it's one there. You can't tell me that there's there is no tree and I'm looking at one. Okay, so religion causes you to use your imagination. Okay, the relationship that we have with the Most High, we're supposed to use our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our nose, and our hands to be able to feel, smell, touch, hear, and taste the things that Most High has put before us. You only have this moment in time right now, today. So use the remaining part of your day to worship the Most High and to give him glory, to give him praise. Does anyone like to add anything?